This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm joined by Umar Sadiq over Zoom. Umar, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. It's good to catch up with you. We haven't had a chance to speak for a while now. You're in warm and sunnier climates out in LA. Obviously, we'll come on to your journey to America very shortly, but we actually haven't caught up since your fight with Chudinov. So going back to that and then progressing through these past 5-6 months, just go back to that fight for me, Umar. How would you assess it all now you've had time to reflect?
It's been good. You know, it's getting a bit windy and I'm mindful that it might be bothering the microphone. So I'm just gonna, what it is the gym itself is noisy because it's really busy and active. So let's see if we can get that popping. But actually it's less windy here. It's less windy here, right? So yeah, I mean, I had a fight with Chudinov in September 2020. Afterwards, I had a brain scan, or I elected to go for a brain scan because I had a headache. And it was just an unusual headache. It was a kind of headache that I haven't felt before. So I asked my team to go get a scan. And it turned out that I made the right call because I had a mild hematoma. So for those who don't know what that is, like I didn't, it's bleed to the surface layer of the brain. Not the brain itself, but the tissue that surrounds the brain. So I had that, and then I was supposed to be in hospital for a bit. But because of that, the British Boxing Board suspended me. And then, I just couldn't box. So I just decided to start traveling like I always do whenever I get the chance to. If I can't box, travel. So I came out here to the States because, my partner's out here. We got a chance to be with her for a long time, and I was still training, getting some good work, different type of experience, scanning, man. And then in late November, the British Boxing Board said that I was able to go and have a new brain scan so they can assess it and then hopefully get my license back. So I came back mid-December, had the scan done, the results were all clear, and the report said that my scan results or the scan image was identical to the previous image of my previous scan when I was renewing my license in summer 2020. So going off of that, all is well, and I'm healthy, thankfully. But the thing is that I submitted that to the board and they wanted the results from the scan from Russia, which we sent to them. But they are unable to open those scans because of the format that it's in. So they're asking me to get a different format of the file so they can open it. But trouble is, I'm just a boxer, right? So I can't do that. They need to contact Russian Boxing Federation or something to get it. But for the most part, my question is, if my results are identical to what they were before the fight, then surely I'm okay to go, right? So off the premise of that, I'm just training along. I've literally just finished sparring. I was just sparring Marvin Vettori, UFC fighter, and then another guy called Kareem Hackett, who's a light heavyweight, very skillful. So literally, I've come out of sparring about 10 minutes ago. So yeah, we're just working and we're here, man.
Well, obviously, I appreciate you jumping on to this Zoom call so soon after you've not even finished training. You're actually probably got to warm down and what have you. Yeah,
I'm gonna jump back in. Yeah.
But Umar, just kind of going back over everything you've just told me there. Firstly, just with your brain scan, your concerns, when you went for your scan and you found out that it was a lot more serious than what you probably imagined it originally would have been.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind? Was you concerned that maybe not beyond boxing, then you wouldn't be able to box again, but there might be a more serious issue with regards to your health?
Yeah, I tend to focus on things that I can control. So in that position, I was just like, I felt fine. I had a headache, but I felt fine. So I remember just thinking, I hope what situation either stays the way it is or it gets better, never worse. But I was just, in a weird way, I was very accepting of whatever could be. I was just like, well, whatever will be, will be. But I think that's partially because deep down, I knew I was going to be well. Then the other thought was, what if I am well, but I'm not deemed fit to box? And I genuinely came to terms with that. I remember being in the bed in Russia and thinking, if they told me that my scan's not right, I'm not going to argue it. I'm just not going to box because there's more to life than, boxing is life until it's not, right? So I'm just grateful and fortunate that, you know, I had the scan in December and that's come out clear. So I'm right back on the horse.
Umar, unsuccessful on the night against Chudinov, but how much confidence do you take away from that performance, and where do you actually feel it means you can operate at with regards to levels?
I think we got to start out with what level we think Chudinov is at. And I think, although he's been a world champion, I don't see him being too competitive against the current world champions. So, I mean, his pressure could probably put a dent on someone like Caleb Plant. But then, if you look at the other world champions, it'll be difficult. He could probably get to Callum Smith as well because of Callum Smith's style, because he doesn't necessarily box long. He's deceptively strong. He hits deceptively hard. And it's not hard in like a ping your bell type of shot. It's a thudding, you know, more like an impact slamming against you kind of power. But anyway, all of that is to say he's a very good fighter. I wouldn't say he's one of the elite A-class fighters. He's probably like a B. So he's at fringe world level. And I was ahead on one of the scorecards in Russia with 3 Russian judges on a week's notice. So saying that, I'll say that it lets me know that I'm definitely a B-class fighter at the very least. And I mean, I would say right now I'm under no illusion that I'm an A-class fighter, but I'm working on it. I'm so much better than I was for the Chudinov fight right now. The work I'm getting out here is amazing. It's that I'm learning things that I've never learned in my 16 years in boxing. And, you know, just even the sparring that I've just had now, like very good class sparring. I'm learning things. Things are being broken down well. Whilst I'm out here, I just sleep, eat, box. So I am improving. So, you know, the short answer really that I've substantiated with all of that is to say that when I boxed Chudinov, it was confirmation that I was at least a B-class fighter. And then ever since, I've continued to improve, and the aim is to be an A-plus fighter.
Umar, with every answer you give me, there's always something which I can kind of go off, which is great, but I'm trying to stick to kind of the first question still and kind of your story so far over these past 5 or 6 months. Moving on to kind of your situation with British Boxing Board of Control and then wanting the scans and what have you of your brain, where's everything been left at now?
So the last bit of communication with my management was that they'd spoken with the boxing board and asked them to contact. Wait 1 second, sorry. Take care, yeah. Bless. Are you in tomorrow?
Champ.
Are you in tomorrow? When are you going to Mexico? Thursday. Yeah, all right, so I'll see you tomorrow. By the way, guys, look at Raul Solomon boxing in Mexico on Saturday.
How you doing, brother?
Middleweight prospect.
Chilling.
Bless. So yeah, so that was the last bit of communication was for the British. We're proposing that the British Boxing Board reaches out to the Russian Boxing Federation because we have no idea how to go about, you know, contacting a Russian hospital and asking them to change the format of a file. So that's where we're at with it. I spoke with Frank Warren this morning because I saw an article on Boxing Scene when he mentioned something about me being active without proving that I was cleared to box. So clearly the information wasn't filtering up to him. So what I did was I rang him yesterday and he rang me back today. And I sort of just got him up to speed with things. So he's going to get in touch with the boxing board directly on my behalf and see to working this out so that, you know, I mean, hopefully simple logic will prevail, which is my scan is identical to what it was before the fight. So can I have my license back and continue to earn a living?
So are you waiting to get that license back until you do come back to the UK? I take it, Umar.
That's part of the reason. I mean, the lockdown doesn't help. There's also the addition of the fact that if I was to come back now, I'd have to stay in a hotel for 10 days at my own expense. I'm not looking forward to that. So, I mean, I'm still very much a British fighter. I would still love to come and box in Britain. But like you said, until I have a license to do that in the very first place, what's the point?
Umar, I know that I've seen you obviously fought in February as well out in Mexico. Talk to me about that, just kind of a chance for you to get back in the ring, get back to kind of winning ways and just to kind of build some momentum again.
Yeah, so like I said, earlier on before you went live or started recording, beginning of, you know, second week of January, I went to Mexico for 2 weeks, and then towards the end of January, I came to the States. I got in the gym beginning of February. So I was in the gym for about 2 weeks, and I heard of an opportunity to box in Mexico, and I just took it because I've been out of the ring for so long. You got to think, right? 2019, I had from March 2019 to February 2020, I had 7 fights in 12 months, and then I went roughly 6 months out of the ring to then fight Chudinov in September, and then it's been another 6 months since. Boxing is what I do. I know a lot of fighters say it, but boxing is genuinely what I do. I don't have a license. I've just finished sparring whilst in another country with the sun out. Do you know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where I wanted to see, I knew I was healthy. I wanted to see where I was at. Like you said, get back to winning ways. I wanted to put into effect some of the things that I've been learning in such a short space of time. And I mean, I got a guy out there in about a minute and a half or whatever, but of the first round. But even in that time, just down to the decision making that I was having in there, I can already feel how much better I'm getting. And I'm very intentional about most of what I'm doing in the ring. There's still so much to learn, so much development to do. But I'm really enjoying being out here. I'm really enjoying the learning, and I'm excited for the boxer I'm becoming.
Umar, what's your current training situation like at the minute then?
Wake up, sometimes I have a bit of workout in the morning at home, and then I come to the gym. It depends if I'm sparring or not. So like today, there was yoga, then there was sparring, and then after we get off the squat, I'm going to stretch off, maybe have a bit to eat, and then I'm going to have strength and conditioning. I'm mixing some runs of that as well. I've started running now. So that's pretty much it. And then when I get home in the evening, like last night, I was foam rolling for about an hour. Like I said, whilst I'm out here, it's pretty much locked down here as well, so there isn't too much to do. So it's a great opportunity for me to just blank out of everything else and just focus on getting better as a boxer. And lots of drills, lots of repeated exercises and listening, which is key. And sparring for the purpose of executing things that I've been learning. So that's brilliant.
Who's your current trainer throughout all of this at the minute, Umar?
So I'm working with a guy called Julian Chua. Some people might have heard of him, so others might not have. I'm gonna make him world famous, I know. And he's good. He's a young coach. He's one of the young breed or crop of coaches that we have. But that also means that he's very forward thinking. He's very experienced. The experience he has is rivals. I mean, he's just turning 30, but his experience rivals that of coaches that are 50 plus years old, because he's served his apprenticeship. He's worked on the Freddie Roach at the Wild Card Gym with Manny Pacquiao and a bunch of fighters for a couple of years, and then he branched out to do his own thing. Now he's coaching Gilberto Ramirez. Is coaching Regis Prograis amongst a bunch of other, not a bunch, but like a handful of other really good fighters. But the guy just knows what he's talking about. I first met him in 2018 when I came out here for sparring, and I took his number and stayed in touch with him because I just rated his boxing IQ, but also his passion for the sport. He's one of those people that, so what it was, his story is, he was an Olympic hopeful, and then he just kept breaking his hands. But he loved boxing that much, but that he knew he couldn't do it professionally because he kept breaking his hands even as an amateur. He just decided he's going to be a coach, and then he started helping Freddie and built his experience that way. So he served his apprenticeship. He's got lots of championship experience, but also he studies it. He's one of those boxing fanatics. And if you ever get the chance or the pleasure of hearing him speak, you guys, listeners or viewers, can Google him, Julian Chua. You would see what I mean. So I'm learning a lot, and I'm really excited about it.
Umar, talk about your plans moving forward. I know it's obviously difficult because you're in the States and traveling and what have you, but is there anybody you have your eye on?
Anybody can get it. I mean, a fight, funny enough, I could be called a weight bully for this, but for some reason, I've been thinking to myself, I would love to have a fight with Gabe Rosado. But that aside, I mean, I just want to fight someone of that ilk, someone who's experienced, who's got a good name, and who I think that stylistically I'll have a very good, entertaining fight with. And I think it'll be a good way to get back in the mix of things. And also, it'll be a fight back at the sort of level that I believe I should be at right now, to then allow me to catapult and go on to, world honors within the next year or two.
I mean, Gabe Rosado is an interesting name to throw out there, because going back to his last fight against Danny Jacobs, many people thought that he'd done enough to win that fight.
I thought he did, yeah.
So obviously,
I thought he did as well.
Go on, mate, tell you talk.
Yeah, the thing, I mean, look at my record and look at the things that I do. I'm clearly not one to shy away from a good fight, right? So yeah, that's part of the reason. He's coming off a win as well against, a win by the public vote, against someone of the ilk of Danny Jacobs. That's a very good fight, I think. And if we can't make that, we'll look at other options and we'll see what else there is. But I think that sort of that example, I guess, gives an inclination into where my mind is at.
I take it, with that in mind, there's nobody on the British circuit you have any interest in at the minute?
Not particularly, no. I think because I went into box for the British and Commonwealth title, it was going to be the biggest fight of my career at the time. I always knew that, I was going to go on and do bigger and better things after that, but it was a nice title to win. And don't get me wrong, if there's a fight that warrants it and the money's right, then I'll do it. But otherwise, I feel that my last significant fight was for a WBA gold title, in away territory. And under the circumstances I took the fight on, or the fight was under, I think I've proven myself to be way past. I'm at the very least European level now. So to go back and fight for a British level when it isn't a big fight or there isn't a lot of money would be going backwards in my career. The aim is to be the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world. So, whatever makes the most sense to get me there is the decision I'm going to be making on my team.
Umar, I also want to talk to you about Christopher Lovejoy, because I've seen you've grown a very good friendship with him, it seems, whilst you've been in America, or unless you knew him beforehand. Talk to me about Christopher, because certainly English boxing fans will always remember him, or certainly will remember him most recently for the debacle around the Dave Allen fight, which never happened.
Yeah. I mean, so when I was coming out here, a friend of mine who's on Pep Talk UK, Pro Bees, you probably know him, he reached out to me and he said, you should link up with Christopher Lovejoy, he's out there. And I was like, yeah, I should actually. So I messaged him and then we just linked up. He's a really cool guy. He's a very, very sound guy. Chris makes me laugh because he gets on social media, and I think he's just brilliant at trolling fans who want to troll him. Anyone with decent sense and composure would see he's absolutely fucking trolling. And he just has a lot of fun doing it. And I enjoy just seeing, just being an observer of the back and forth that he goes on with people and whatnot, and the claims that he makes and the shit he comes out with. Of course, he's just trolling people, but it's just funny to see people bite. But he's a cool guy. He's a really cool guy.
Just two fights also I've got you, I want to get your thoughts on, which are coming up. One at domestic level over in the UK for the British and Commonwealth titles, Willie Hutchinson versus Lennox Clark. Your thoughts?
I think so. We have seen Willie Hutchinson perform at a high level internationally as an amateur, albeit at a junior, because I rate amateur pedigree, but then he did all that he did as a junior. So with that, it makes it hard to predict what he's going to do fighting against grown men in the professional ranks, because so far his opponents have all come in, really not with much of a chance. So I think this fight is going to be our first opportunity to get to see what he's really about. With Lennox Clark, he's also got limited, he has genuinely got limited amateur experience. I think he had about 12 or so, 15, I don't know, unlicensed boxing bouts and then turned professional. So he hasn't got the best of pedigree, I would say. And by that logic, I'm just going to say I fancy Willie Hutchinson doing it because he's got the better pedigree. But Lennox Clark's a tough guy, and I'm sure he's going to bring it. He brought it to Lerone. He's a skillful boxer, and really pushed him to the wire enough for Lennox's team to believe that they had it. So we're going to learn a lot about Willie Hutchinson in this fight, but I do genuinely think Willie Hutchinson's going to win the bout.
I mean, you mentioned Lerone there. Do you have any interest in trying to revisit that fight, or is that not something you've got any interest in anymore?
I mean, I've got to clear something up here. Lerone and I boxed for Repton together. Like, we've known each other for many years, and like, we're cool. We're absolutely cool. That being said, as is said often in boxing, if I'm gonna box you, you become my enemy. So when the fight was offered, he had something I wanted, and so he became my enemy. And I put a lot of pressure on him. I put a lot of heat in him. I still believe he didn't want the fight. He clearly swerved it, but I've got nothing personal against the guy. Like, if I saw him, I would happily eat in a restaurant with him. There's nothing personal. It's just, if we are scheduled to fight again, then he'll go back to being my enemy. But as of right now, that we're cool. So it's not a fight I'm personally looking forward to for any particular reason. But I've heard rumors. Sam Jones has tweeted a few times about him possibly boxing for a European title. So if he became the European champion and there was a fight to be made there for him and I for the European title, then the heat will be back on, and then I'll definitely be excited for the fight.
And then final fight, I just want to get your thoughts on Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders, unification bout. Your thoughts again, how does it play out?
For me, Canelo is the best active boxer today. So I'm just coming in the sun because I'm getting a bit chilly. Canelo's the best active boxer today, in my opinion. That being said, Billy Joe's not to be underestimated. I mean, I've had conversations about boxing with Billy Joe, and he said things that have just, like, I mean, I think I'm a student of the game, and I hear Billy Joe say certain things like that. I never quite even considered that, So the boxing performances that he puts on, like against Lemieux, for example, these are no accident. They're very intentional, and often he knows what he's going to do before he gets in there. Even his performance against Andi Lee, he's broken that fight down to me about what they thought and decided before going in and how he pulled it off. So all of that is to say that I think Canelo's one of the best, he is the best active fighter today. And a big part of the reason why is because I think him and Eddie Reynoso, they're very great on coming up with great tactics. Often it's the tactics that makes them successful, like against Callum Smith, the way he nullified him, the brilliant things he did there. But then Billy Joe's also brilliant at, coming up with tactics. So I think it's going to be a pick and fight, or it is a pick and fight. But ultimately, I think boxing fans are going to be the winners in it. So I'm really looking forward to it. And you just reminded me that I need to shout Billy Joe to see if he wants to come and drink camp here before the fight. But yeah, man, I think the fans will be the winners, but it's definitely a pick and fight.
Umar, I'm going to leave a final word to yourself before I leave you to go and finish off your training session. For everybody who will continue to follow your journey this year, everybody who's excited to see what's next in store for you, what would you like to say to them?
I'd like to say thank you for watching this far in, because if you have done, either you're entertained or you're interested in my story, in which case I really appreciate you. Continue to support Boxing Social. Continue to support me on all my social media links, Twitter, Instagram, a lot. Top Boxer Sadiq, and watch this space because I'm leveling up, I'm getting better, and I'm excited to put on some great performances for you guys. And as you know, I'm not shy of a great challenge, so you can count on me to being on some big, great fights.
Umar, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you. Stay safe, and hopefully we can see you soon. Thanks for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.